Okay guys, today we are going to be drawing the White House. We're going to draw it with pencil, and then eventually we're going to trace it with thin Sharpie, kind of showing some of those different details. The first thing I would like you to do is take your triangle tracer and put it in the middle of your paper and trace around it. Please do so lightly because we are going to erase some of our lines. So once we have our triangle traced, we're going to add the bushes that go across the bottom of the White House. To do that, I want you to take your triangle tracer or a ruler, and we're going to go under the White House a little tiny bit, and we're going to repeat that line, but you do want it to be longer than the White House, so you want to make it a little longer on each side by extending that line. Straight line, right underneath, straight line. Then, that's the bottom line of the White House. We want to make the top line of those bushes of the White House. So that's going to be kind of a bumpy line, so you're going to make a bunch of tiny little curves. It helps me to kind of go up and down. And these curved lines, this bumpy line, needs to be above the bottom of our rectangle that we made. So I go all the way from one side of that extended line to the other. Then you erase that bottom line that you have at the bottom of your rectangle, where you would see the bottom of the White House through the bushes. We don't want to see through the bushes, so I need to erase that line. Okay, once we have our bushes done, we're gonna make this middle deck-like structure of the White House called a porticulture. They have one on front and back of the White House, and this one has the triangle top. The other side has a curved top, but we're making the triangle top. And to do that, you're gonna turn your rectangle tracer sideways. I like to line it up with the top or bottom of my building. Try to have an even amount on each side. So I have a little less on this side, I'm gonna scoot it over. And then I'm just gonna make a line from the top of the White House to my bushes on each side to section off that middle space for our porticulture, that deck-like structure in the middle of the White House. Now once we have that sectioned off, we're gonna make that triangle roof. So what you want to do is kind of find the middle of the top of that porticulture, come up a little bit and make a dot. Then from that dot, you're going to make a line that goes to the side of the porticulture, those lines that we just made on each side. So I line it up with the dot and I line it up with the line. And then make my straight line. Make sure you are using a straight edge, whether it's the tracer or a ruler, because that is part of your grade, that you have straight lines used with either a straight edge or ruler. So we've got that triangle structure for our roof. Now we need to make the ledge of our roof. So we're gonna repeat those two lines. I'm gonna come above the top of my roof just a little bit, and I'm going to repeat that line on each side, making the ledge. It also has a ledge along the bottom of the triangle. So we're also going to repeat this line at the bottom of the triangle. So I'm going to come up a little bit above my rectangle into my triangle, and I'm going to repeat that line from one side of my triangle to the other. So we have the ledge of our triangle roof. Now we need to make the ledge of the porticulture that kind of dips in right here. So in this square shape, I'm going to come down a little bit and go from that middle line to middle line. To make that edge of our porticulture. That is what supports the pillars that give it that neoclassical style of the White House. So we need to make these pillars. We're going to start with these outer two pillars. We already got them half done because we have these two lines. So you're just going to repeat this line inside the porticulture, inside that square. So I go from my ledge a little bit in, down to my bushes, and I'm going to do that on both sides. And now I have the two outer pillars of my porticulture, but it needs a total of 4. So it has 2 kind of straddling the middle. There's one on each side of the middle. The middle is where our door is, so we want to make sure it's on each side of the middle. So you want to kind of make sure you move over from the middle. It's not in the middle, it's to the side of the middle. And you're going to make 2 lines for each one of your pillars on these ones. 1, 2, kind of close together. So I have my 3rd pillar, and I'm going to go to the other side. 1, 2, and I've got my 4th pillar. You can leave it like this. If you want to add a little extra detail, they have what's called crown molding at the top of each pillar. A lot of times I just make kind of this oval shape at the top of my pillars. So I would just kind of add that little bit of an oval shape that comes out at the top of the pillars. You do not have to do this. It's just kind of an extra detail to make it a little more realistic. Okay, then we want to make the flag at the top of our White House. This part is a little more tricky, so make sure you're following along. It's easy to start with though. Just at the tip top of your triangle roof, you want to make a straight line coming up for your flagpole. And then you want to just kind of have a smidgen of space, not a lot, and you're going to make a second line to turn it from a line into a pole. It can be just straight at the top, or I a lot of times like to add a little circle for kind of the knob at the top of the flagpole. Now we are going to make our flags flowing in the wind. So to do that, at the tip top of your flagpole, you want to make a curved line, almost like a flattened S. It curves up like a hill and then down like a smile. Up like a hill, then down like a smile. You want to repeat this line exactly the same way, always down on your flagpole. Be cautious. If you make these 2 lines too close together, it'll end up looking like one of those windsocks from like a car wash. instead of a flag. So once you have these two lines that match, you're gonna make the straight line on the end for our flag shape. Once you have the flag shape, you're gonna repeat this curved line one more time right in the middle of your flag. So it curves up, then down. This is the middle of the flag. It kind of separates that blue field of stars from all the stripes. So we want to make that kind of rectangle blue field of stars by kind of chopping that top half in half, okay? This is going to be the blue field of stars. The other side is stripes. So I'm going to repeat this curved line a few times. Try not to make them too close together because we are going to trace them in Sharpie and then kind of color in them. Then we're going to repeat all the way across at the bottom. We have our flag. I wouldn't suggest with pencil adding the dots for the flag. You can either do it in Sharpie later because it's hard to just repeat dots on top of pencil. It's better to just do in Sharpie. Or once we paint it blue, you'll have the option of using a white gel pen to make the stars white instead of black. Last thing we're going to need to do to finish this horticulture part of our White House is on each side of the triangle roof, there's these ledges. I like to use the corner of the top of my tracer and just repeat that edge from roof to roof. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Once again, you can just leave it like this, but it does have this extra ledge at the top. So I like to add where it just kind of comes out a little bit, and then I repeat that straight line at the top. Comes out a little bit, repeats the straight line at the top. And now we have the horticulture part of our White House done. You can add extra details, like sometimes there's some lines kind of at the bottom of the ledge that you can add, or you can add some of the details in the ledge of your triangle, but those are all extra options that you can add now or later to add detail to your White House and are up to you. Okay, once we are done with that horticulture center of our White House, we're going to go to the wings, the sides of the White House. So first, there's this ledge that kind of separates the roof railing from the actual wall structure of the White House. So on each side, you're going to make a line kind of close to the top of your White House. But you want this to extend outside of the White House a little bit. So I'm gonna pull that out a little bit. So it extends just a little bit outside of the White House. Then I'm going to go under that line just a little tiny bit. Make sure you're just doing this on the sides. And I'm going to repeat that. Now, to create the ledge, I want to connect this outer line to the inner line. So I'm going to add a little line connecting those so it has that pointy ledge. Okay, so kind of close. I'm gonna go from the outer ledge to the inner ledge, connecting those with kind of a diagonal line to connect those. So it kind of has a little bit of a point sticking out on each side, just like the real White House does. Okay, once we finish that ledge, we're gonna add some of these decorative lines that are shown on the White House. So under that, you're gonna add 1 or 2 lines. That's kind of up to you. They go from side to the edge of the White House. 1 or 2, up to you. You have to have at least 1. Now, on the roof of the lighthouse, they have a garden and different things up here. And this is kind of just like a railing where people can walk around. So we want to add that kind of railing at the top. We're just going to add rectangles with stripes in them. You should have a handout that kind of shows you some of the extra details and those that you would see. So you just want to add some of those rectangles with the stripes. Make sure you do that on both sides. Once you have that part done, they also have these smokestack chimneys on each side of the porticulture on the roof of our White House. Those are pretty simple to make. You're just gonna make a tall rectangle followed by 2 long rectangles, 1 on each side. And then you don't have to, but I like to add like the ledge at the top with the smokestacks. But you can just leave it the rectangle with the long rectangles on each side. That is up to you. Then we're going to add a lantern light that hangs down on the White House. Just want to kind of make a straight line coming down. And then I usually just do a triangle with a rectangle under it with a couple of lines. You can make it a little more detailed than that, but it doesn't really have to be. Now, at this point, last thing we're gonna do together is just add the horizon line. That's the line that separates where the ground is from where the sky starts. So on each side of your White House, you wanna make just a straight line, kind of separating the ground from the sky. Try to make them line up. It looks weird if you have one down and one up high. You can leave it like that. A lot of times I like to add trees or bushes above that line. Once you have the horizon line, from this point on, you're mostly going to refer to the handout. It tells you that on each side of the building of the White House, they have these windows. You want to try for 8, but if you can't fit 8, it's okay if you fit less. What you must do though is have a top row and a bottom row of windows. So there's a top row and a bottom row. If you can only fit, 6, That's fine as long as you have the top row and the bottom row. Some people can only fit 4, but I hope you can fit more than that. That's still a top row and a bottom row. Okay, they have to have the top row and bottom row that line up. Don't forget the middle two. You have windows and you must have a door. Okay, and you can kind of see the shape that the White House door is. You can make it more detailed. So I've got like this T-shaped window, the extra window at the top of that curve, but it really can just be that rectangle semicircle shape. So what I like to do to make 2 rows of windows on my White House that all match up is I make guidelines. So I gently, lightly, with my pencil, because I am going to erase this, I make 2 guidelines for each row of windows. Okay, one for the top of the window, one for the bottom of the window. So that would be my top row of windows. My bottom row of windows is probably gonna go down into the bushes a little bit. So I'm gonna make my top line here. Don't really need it in the middle because that's where my door is. And the bottom, I only need a little bit right over here where my bushes are a little bit lower. Ooh, I think maybe right here. I didn't see that one. Okay, so now I've got these guidelines that I can build my windows rectangles pretty simply, creating my rows of windows. Your windows must be separate. They cannot just be one big window covering the White House, because that is not how it is. It's got rows of rectangular windows. I don't mind if you just do extremely basic window. So if you just do this, I am fine with that, but you can't just have one big row of windows and call that it. Okay, you can't do that. Okay, that's not okay. It needs to have some individual windows. Now, I like to add the more details, so their windows has a line through the middle, but then it's got 2 lines coming up and down, and an extra line that goes across the top and the bottom. It also has that pane, the window pane that goes around each window. And then the top and the bottom ones go back and forth between having a curved top and then having a triangular top. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my windows, and you're gonna go ahead and make your windows in those 2 rows. Just don't forget to add your door in the middle space here. But you want 2 rows of windows. Top row and a bottom row that kind of line up. Okay, go ahead and work on that. Okay, once you finish your windows, you could be done drawing yours, or you can move on to adding any extra details. So you could add like the fountain or tree or a helicopter. Extra details are fun. I don't know what you would like to add to yours. If you have any questions, make sure you ask. I'm gonna smoke. What would you like to add to your White House? So I usually like to at least add that fountain that is found in front of the White House. So I make an oval shape in front of the White House. And then I kind of repeat that for the ledge. Then I'm going to add the water kind of coming out of the fountain. So I'm going to make some lines in the middle that are kind of streaking upward. And then I'll kind of repeat those lines, kind of drizzling, waving down on the other side. Then around the fountain, there would be those ripple lines, like when you throw a stone in the water. So it's just kind of little curves that you would add, kind of going around the fountain. You don't have to do a lot of those. And then I would just have regular kind of waves in my water. Nothing too complicated. If you want to add any extra details like the helicopter, or they have a tree on this side, those are up to you and what you want to add, and how you want to do yours. So this is what I am adding. Once everything is finished, you want to take your thin Sharpie. Thin, not the big one. You want the one that looks kind of like a pen, because we've got all these fine details. And you're gonna trace all the lines of your White House and all of your details, like the bushes. I also like to like these little bushy lines in my bushes, but that's up to you. But go ahead and start tracing when you are done. Okay, once you have everything traced, I want you to go ahead and erase any pencil lines that are showing, because you have some pencil lines that probably are showing that need erased. You can use the back of your eraser, but I should have on my desk some larger erasers, if that works better for you, to kind of get in those spaces and get all your pencil lines erased before we start painting. We're going to use watercolor paint to paint our White House. And so pencil lines do show and kind of smear into the paint, muting it. So you want to have all your pencil lines cleaned up nice and neat. That shows good craftsmanship. Now mine is looking pretty good and ready to paint.